This episode of Town Hall Heroes is brought to you by you, the viewers. Thank you so much for supporting us on patreon.com/townhallheroes. Welcome here to Town Hall Heroes. Hello everyone and welcome here to episode 163 of Town Hall Heroes. I'm Solid Jake. This week we've got Bakery. Dunk Train is sick, but we are joined by a rare guest for the very first time, KzN. And before we get into the introductions, I mean, you're an HGC Pro player. That everybody knows. What else is there to know about you? I mean, the generic question I always throw, where did you start before Heroes? Was there anything before Heroes?
I mean, I played StarCraft. It's basically where I discovered Esports. I played StarCraft 2, got like Diamond Master, like pretty high level, but actually never played competitive. And then I played a bunch of League, and that's where I discovered MOBAs, switched to Heroes, and here we go.
That's a good way to start and discover the MOBA realms. Cool, man. Well, obviously, we're going to be chatting with KzN a lot today just about basically the HGC 2018 rosters that have been locked in. Blizzard has said, NAEU, they are done and finalized, and we have those lists. Also, he's been scrimming on the PTR, so we can actually get some good conversation on those gameplay changes that you guys have been so eager to hear about. And of course, we have the support apocalypse, the patch, where pretty much most supports received damage, health, and healing nerfs. It's a big patch for sure to discuss, and we've got 3 support players to talk about that. You know, KzN, right out of the gates, man. Like, what has your off season been like with the team?
It's basically the same as before, just no HGC matches. We scrim all week and try to find like what the hell is going on with this new patch. Basically, it's a big changes, so we're trying to like be ready for 2018.
So you tell me you're not just slacking and, you know, sleeping all day?
No, no. We're trying to play HL, but HL have been like difficult since there's like all these changes and we're like switching between the two, right? So it's like we're trying just to focus more on scrims and like just improving on the new patch.
It was actually really, I was very distraught because I was playing Hero League today, and I got my like final game with my chain bond on Rhaegar, and then I finished my Hero League game, and it's like a new patch is live. I'm like, oh cool, a hotfix. I'm like, oh, this patch is definitely bigger than a hotfix. And sure enough, the nerfs came in, and I played my next game of Rhaegar, and I just kind of panicked. I'm like, what do I grab at level 1? I think I got Wolf Run, but Bakery, what's good, dude?
Not much, not much. Been unlike KzN and the rest of Team Freedom, I've been chilling. Just, you know, playing WoW, playing some heroes on PTR with some really weird changes. What else have I been doing? Casting Nexus games. I was doing that as well. I got to cast 2 full best of 5s, which was a fun experience for my voice and being tired. But I made it through alive. So yeah, good week.
What was the end takeaway from you from the experience of being a caster in that setting, traveling, sitting down with nerds like Kendrick and Tetcher? Must have been terrible. I love them.
Wow. BM. No, I really enjoyed the kind of small crew kind of theme.
Yeah.
Where it was literally, it was like 2 observers, 3 casters, and then someone from Blizzard sometimes. So that was like a super cool like 4 to 6 man group. It was a lot of fun, like hanging out and exploring Leicester. When there were a lot of stories about Leicester, it's the worst place ever. It's truly terrible. Like, never again.
Yeah, we saw the pizza. Everyone that's asking for a Dunk Train, he is unfortunately sick this week, but we do have his ideas or his thoughts rather, on the support discussion. So we'll get to that a little bit later in the show. So we still have some of his, at least, input for today's episode. But cool. I mean, honestly, for me, it's just been grinding, man. We're working on the evolution of TownHall Heroes. As you heard our little sellout at the start of the show, we do have the Patreon, and we're working on evolving that and making some enticing stuff. And also, I gave my stream today a bit of a sneak peek at the upcoming evolution of TownHall, and it's actually going to, like, basically what the long story short right now is when HGC resumes, we are effectively going to try to accomplish everything that the Beyond the Nexus did for that as like a weekly show, but also kind of create it like more of like a sports center thing where we're highlighting top plays, going over all the results, going over specific drafts, and bringing in consistently pro players that are playing in the league to talk about certain moments and certain things that they may or may not like. So that's kind of the evolution of TownHall that I got to give the sneak peek to, and that's what I've been working on a lot. And the Patreon all goes towards helping that be as successful as it possibly can be. So that's patreon.com/townhallheroes, #sellout boys. We got to do it. Collusion, I got to just go straight at you. It's the first topic here on the screen. You know it's coming. And give me your, if you had to say how much you like on a scale of 1 to 10, the gameplay changes just generalized from your PTR scrims, what is that number?
Below 5? I don't have a specific number.
Below
I really don't.
5.
Yeah, I don't like it at all, and I've been tweeting about it. You guys can see it for sure. The change to the towers, like the ammo, for some reason, all the like building feels weaker. So like, there's so many things different now. Like a Punisher on Infernal gonna just end the game if you don't like respond to it. Like you cannot have like a one-man defense or whatever. There's so many changes, like the Merc Cam pressuring on Kursala super early in the game. I don't know. It's so weird to me right now, and I just don't like it. But you know, got to deal with it and play on it.
I was not expecting below 5 to be the answer to that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the truth, man. No lies here.
I mean, no. We definitely want honesty. That's for sure here. It's just, it was honestly unexpected to hear. Would you say that it's just because you're getting used to it and you've played thousands and thousands of games on the other version, and now it's just getting used to it? It's such a drastic, sudden change, right? Would you say there's any margin for that to be, or do you just actually think that with the new timings on the maps and the lack of ammo, that is it more cookie cutter? Is it more defined and less like free flowing?
I mean, I think it's more about that we've played so much on the old patch and like the old system, right? So it's gonna take time to adapt, and that's why I think, and I hope that's why they like release the patch that early before 2018 starts. Because let's say this patch is like 2 or 3 weeks before HGC, it will have been like totally insane, right? So, I mean, we'll get used to it, but right now I don't like it, and well, we'll see what happens.
No, that's okay. So you don't love the overall gameplay changes. Do you think that Cursed Hollow, for example, is going to be better or worse? Because we got a 10-minute boss timer. When the boss is picked up, the other boss despawns for, I don't know if it's 30 seconds or until the next tribute spawns or what. But like the dynamic of that map seems like way different. It's almost like a new map. So is that also a negative? Do you think Cursed was in a great spot and they messed it up, or what?
I think it's just totally different. Like I don't want to say it's like worse or better. It's just they took the map and totally changed it. Like it's not the same map at all. Like it's the same name obviously, but I would rather just call it Cursed Hollow 2.0 or something. But wow. Yeah, just the boss mechanics, and I don't know, like the mob, and you kind of need to have a jungler role now. Like it's pretty weird. I don't know.
And also the way tributes play out, because it telegraphs so early on, as opposed to you have to stay in the middle of the map because it could spawn 15 seconds like either side. Like, because you know where it's going to spawn, you can make plays like around that as well. It's like the entire early game's different. It's weird.
Yeah, you can place your global like pre-tribute like away from the map, so it's super easy to be like in the same lane. It's like no RNG at all. Like every team's gonna be prepared for the curse, and then it's just the team that plays it the best. There's no like I don't know, RNG, and I think it's weird. I don't know.
It's really weird to me they changed Cursed Hollow so much, like outside of other maps. You know, there's Volskaya, who is becoming fairly clear that it does need some tuning changes on possibly objective timers, or how long it takes to take the extra Triglav, or how strong the Triglav is.
Or the bottom lane point in general.
Or something, you know, just some small tuning changes. Like the map's good, but it's not finished, basically. And then there's other maps like Warhead, Braxis, Garden, Black Hearts, which obviously aren't in a great state. Mines as well. And then they choose. Ignore Hanamura. You know, leave that one out. But you've got all these maps that like need changes, and then Cursed Hollow, which is, if you ask what's the best map, Cursed Hollow, I'm fairly sure is #1 in most of those like results.
Yeah. They
changed that one so much. That was just like super weird.
All right. So, well, there's one thing that's very apparent with the changes they made to the game, and that's that they wanted to, give more information as to what's happening with the next objective across the maps. Because as a new player joining the game, you have to learn all these different maps and different mechanics across the board, and then not having the information or a consistent spawn time for things like mercenary camps and objective might be hard to approach. So they tried to even that out. But it seems like Cursed Hollow did in fact get additional reworking compared to everything else. And the chat is saying, but less RNG is good, right? And I think most players, especially in the pro scene, would say, yeah, 90% of the cases, yes. But there's a beauty to Cursed Hollow where there is a risk reward. And there's also some takeaway when you look at the map. And correct me if I'm wrong, but when you just look at the map and you see, if you know that next tribute's in top lane, you can then very safely punish and abuse the bottom lane because that tribute's safe for your team to get to. Your rotation is guaranteed to be an easy one, and you can then theoretically have a window of opportunity to take down a wall or whatever. Am I right in saying that? By having that guaranteed info?
I mean, yeah, for sure. That's why I think it makes it weird now. Like, normally you cannot, like, on the old patch at least, you couldn't just be like bottom with your like Oriel Vol or something and just push forever. Like you know now, like you couldn't know before. I mean, sorry, and you needed to like be mid or some shit to be like sorry about that, to be closer to the tribute and you know be reactive to it. Now you can just literally be in the lane where the tribute's gonna be, push forever and be in position already. So I don't know, it's weird.
But yeah. Go ahead, Baker.
I think less RNG is good, yes, but it's like you could have very easily fixed a lot of that RNG problem by making the tribute spawn timer 30 seconds as opposed to 14. Like that usually gives you enough chance if you're not in bot lane and it's all the way top. Like 30 seconds is enough for you to go all the way safe way, or come like multiple ways, or even like slow push like through like difficult areas. Like 30 seconds is enough, in my opinion, to remove most of the RNG to the point where I wouldn't consider it an issue. So the reworks definitely have to do more than just remove the RNG. Yeah. Since it actually has 30-second telegraph time anyway, I think now.
And just to clarify, like, we're not saying RNG is a good thing or a bad thing, right? Well, actually, no, we are saying RNG is a bad thing. But in Cursed Hollow, I think part of why we're kind of defending the old version of the map is that everyone was just so accustomed to it. A meta evolved around it. It's one of the most played esports maps. And maybe it's this weird attachment we still have to it. And there are, again, this telegraphed information to where the next tribute's going to be is amazing for the average player. For the average player, it's very good for the game. It's far more approachable. It's far easier to understand when to rotate. It's a lot harder to mess things up. But at the same time, you get guaranteed situations where you know your team can abuse a scenario and gain a small edge there. Theoretically, that should be true for both sides, but before that was always like a risk. You choose to push forward or whatever here and there, you may or may not be rewarded. Is that a good or bad thing? I don't know. I think I'm going to adjust to prefer the new Cursed Hollow personally, but it definitely is a big change.
I'm not saying the new version is worse. Definitely, I think in my opinion, it's probably going to be better. Especially in Hero League and match-made play and stuff. Maybe not in competitive, but close enough that I still think it's going to be one of the top maps. So I don't mind too much, because obviously a lot of the changes are global changes that accidentally hit Cursed quite hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just weird to me that so much effort went into
Cursed
Hollow and changing that so much, when the other maps probably, in my opinion, needed it more.
Yeah. Well, the other gameplay changes and revolving around health globes collusion. Let's just talk about that specifically a little bit. Are you finding that your games feel snowbally, or does it feel good to win your solo lane? Has it made a big difference in general in your PTR games?
So far, yes. There's a bunch of matchup that you can even snowball more right now. Like, I don't know, a Metal Deaka matchup or something, where if you control the wave better than the other one, you can get Bull Globe, and that's a huge thing right now. And same thing in the rotation, where you have like ATC farming Globe for his quest, or any Globe talent. If you control the waves and the rotation, you get so much value out of it, and it's pretty cool. It's a good mechanic, and I like it.
Well, that's actually good to hear. So, of all the new changes, would you say that is your favorite change?
Yeah, 100%.
100%.
I like it. Yeah.
Globe change is good. Cool. I'm doing my best to maximize the hashtag sellout here. I'm getting a Team Freedom logo over next to your name. Oh yeah, production value. Could have done it cleanly, but I'm feeling lazy. Bam, we got it. Okay, so the ammo change with the minions being buffed up also affects the game, right? Because yes, they removed one structure from each town hall, which is the whole fort. If you didn't know, they are called town halls. And they actually wrapped all those stats into all the towers and everything. They removed the ammunition, but as a result, they buffed all the minions. Then they buffed Locust a little bit in Abathur. This inherently buffs things like Infest. Is this going to have a change on the game, especially with the hammer rework, where we might... I mean, you said this earlier, and now you kind of need a jungler on Cursed Hollow, right? Does this jungler mean the solo lane's more important, or is this like going to be like a Gazlo pick, or is this going to make the Sylvanas viable? Like, what does that whole combination of things bring to the table?
It's just, I don't know, like, we're all trying to figure out what's going on, basically. Like, if you asked me yesterday, I would have been like, all right, Rhaegar is the jungler #1, but then they removed Lightning Bond, right? So we're like, oh, okay. And after that, the siege changes. You can basically do siege with any hero. You can just dodge your attacks, right? So that's another mechanic that makes it interesting.
Oh, you're talking about the siege camps and the sapper camps, yeah.
Yeah. So you can dodge every auto attack, right? So like a hero like Genji, who couldn't do it before, now can do it really easily. He doesn't take damage at all, actually. So there's a bunch of interesting mechanics like that. Like, not really sure what's going on still. It's a lot of change, so we'll see what happens.
Okay, I'm going to follow up on this a little bit later when we get into the patch notes, where we're going to talk about basically the support meta. You said Rhaegar would be that jungler. That's something they clearly don't want happening with double support. They're trying to nix that. So we'll move into that. For now, we'll transition to talk a little bit about the rosters coming up. And Bakery, I know you're in the know, but are there any surprises for you at all in the 2018 rosters for NA and EU that have now been confirmed?
Yes, definitely. I think Space Station Gaming, that lineup, the fact that Cawthon wasn't picked up, and the fact that Nape wasn't picked up. Those are my 3 surprises. Wait, Jake, what happened to my cam?
It's because I changed scenes technically. It's really complicated. I just need you to fix it yourself. You got this.
I can. I don't know how to do it.
Okay, I'll get the tank down. Don't worry about it. I'll get it. HGC rosters, as we can pull them up here on the screen, you can see they've been finalized for North America and Europe. And LFM Esports is imported support. Now, on the official website, you can go to heroesofthestorm.com/esports. You'll notice that when you look at the North American teams, it's like, okay, LFM Esports, Figgy, Aware, Swabs, Draded, T. Who is that team? They basically made all the players change their name. And like some of them I can get, like FZ Ignition. If I was casting that, I mean, I just say Ignition, right? But he's now Figgy. The Aware is Aware. Swabs McGoo is Swabs. Draded is Draded. And Specialty. What's wrong with Specialty? He's now T. Looking for
I
more
mean,
T.
it's not necessarily Blizzard saying you have to change them. Like,
That's
the players obviously could have
Yeah, you're right.
wanted to change them as well.
So
That's
that is
pretty weird, man.
Yeah. So, I mean, when you look at this, if you had to rate the teams based on your opinions of all the new squads, Collusion, give us your 1 through 5. 1 through 4. I'll make it easy.
Hang on. Is Prismat not in?
Prismat is
not in.
not in. He is not in.
Holy.
Coffin
He
Luck
didn't make
is
it.
Okay.
not in.
Surprise number 4, baby. How did he not get in anywhere?
Yeah.
I don't know. I know he tried out for Space Station, I think, and Old Gods, and I guess they didn't want him. I don't know.
Damn, we got
Wow.
that intel. We got that intel. Yeah, this is what happens in these kind of roster apocalypses, though. Sometimes people miss the boat, and this is akin to last season where we had B-Step disband, then all the players of B-Step had to find new homes. People like Crowan ended up missing out on finding a new team. McIntyre as well. Same situation here where Lagif is no more. LFM is then moved up from the open division spot because they made it to the Crucible, and all the members of LFM from Lagif, or at least some of them have found new homes. So Biggie's up the Gale Force we got B-Kid. Tomster made his way to Space Station here with Jay Shrite forming that new squad of Jason Casanova, Equinox, Tomster, and Jay Shrite. And I'm really excited to see Jay Shrite making his way into the NAC, and I think he moved to like Vancouver. Yep. So he was formerly, I don't know if he was Mexico or what, but Zuna is of course on Old Gods. So it's a shakeup. I was actually initially, though, when we were looking at Space Station, we kind of knew all the teams about a week ago. We didn't know the Space Station roster. I was just saying, like, is it Coffin? Is it Tomster? Is it Jeshurte? Like, who is gonna be on that team? And yeah, well, now we know that those are the players that are safe. Do you guys expect any retirements, or do you expect players like Coffin to jump into open division? And
I don't think anyone would need to retire. Like, of those 3 plus iDream, I think they all could play in the HCC if they wanted to. Also including Sway.
oh yeah,
But
That
I
is.
think Sway, iDream, possibly Hawthorne will. Don't think Prisma will.
Pretty sure Prism's gonna end up on the open team. Pretty 100% about that, actually.
Ooh.
Nice.
And the rest, I have no clue. I don't really talk to the others, so I don't really know what's going on.
All right.
Okay, so while we are talking NA rosters, and we still haven't quite left the KzN interview, KzN, how do you feel about the off-season for Team Freedom?
You mean about all the roster change, or just all we're doing together?
Yeah, like losing Cure and Dinsky.
Dinsky.
How did that go down, and then how did you try out, and then how is it going now, basically?
So, we heard about Kieran Dane literally the day after we got knocked out of the BlizzCon. So basically everything was done before, which is kind of sad. But
But yeah.
esports, so and Osti, not Osti, what am I saying? Sorry, Yoda and Lutano have been kind of friends of ours for a while. We know them. We're all hanging out always in the Discord somewhere, so it kind of just matched that. That's what we wanted. Lutano has been a great player, super improving, and he's literally a monster. He's so good. Yoda
He is.
yeah, and Yoda have so much experience. He helps a lot in draft and shot calling in general as well. So I like our roster right now, and we're doing pretty well.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, I was really happy to see Lutano find a home because I've said this on the show many times. From season 1 of Open Division in 2017, he was, in my opinion, like the best player, like by far the most valuable player in Open Division. And he has found him. Like I thought he was better than Cure. Like Cure, people love him. He's proven he's very good, but I think Lutano is a beast, man. So, but that's me.
Lutano Valor, definitely something I was impressed by in the past.
Cool. I totally had a follow-up question here in the rosters. Yes, you never gave me your power ranking of the top 4 teams.
I thought I dodged a bullet there.
Nope. I found it.
All right. I tried. I think. Good job, Kev. So I think top 2 is us and Roll20. We scrimmed Roll20 before they left for China, and they look pretty good. So even though I didn't follow Gold League, I mean not much, so I'm not really sure how they're doing there. But before they left, they were looking pretty good. After that, probably Tempa, JFE, Space Station on the same level, and then the 3 others I don't really know. We didn't scrim Erosart to LFM yet, so I don't really know.
That's fair.
Where would you place you in that?
He said
top 2. Yeah, top 2.
Okay.
Come on, Gallable, man.
So top 2 with Roll20, and then no Spiller. Okay.
All right. I can respect that. I can dig that. 2018 season has definitely, in my opinion, just kind of looking at things, it definitely looks like it's going to be a lot different than the start of 2017. The talent, honestly, in a lot of ways is spread. Like when I look at Old Gods, this is a team that could really be 1st or 8th, in my opinion. Like it's so hard to tell. We haven't seen Zuna on a carry in a while. We've never seen K1 Pro play support, right? Caffeine is definitely a good foundation for the team on that tank, something comfortable. Urho is going to be, I guess, more in the bruiser role, right? And Hosty's going to be flex. So, like, I totally dig that. I think that's an amazing layout for a team. Just, like, where does it end up, right? What is that power level at the end of the day? And, yeah, I mean, we've been getting a glimmer of Roll20 over in the GCWC. I haven't really watched too many games, I'll be honest. I've just been too busy. If you guys have watched it, we'll definitely talk on it a little bit later in the show. But I know the results aren't fantastic, right? I saw some of the dig match with Roll20, but it's a new squad, and it's so hard to criticize a team that is that young playing across the world, right? You really cannot take that as a measurement for what we expect for next year.
I think it definitely has some implications because Dig is also a new team with 3 swaps as opposed to 2. So,
oh, that's fair. That's fair. Well, what did you think? If you watched their games, Collision?
I watched their game. You mean Roll20, right?
Yeah.
Or Dig. Roll20 against. I watched SPT, but SPT was not, a big team going into the tournament. I think they're not doing really well, so I'm not really sure what, to get from that series. But they played pretty well, that said. And then they got 2-0'd, I think, by Dig, right? And that was not looking good. So we'll see what happened in the rest of the tournament.
But I mean, Bakery, you already said you think that, I don't know if this is full fluff or not, but you said you think Dig is the best roster in Europe right now. And obviously Europe has been the stronger region over the last year. So is that a surprise that Dig won?
So I think Dig's the #1 roster by the start of HGC. Right now, I would say I'm leaning towards Fnatic being stronger. We'll actually get to see fairly soon. Wait, when do Dig Fnatic play?
Friday.
Okay,
December
so
1st.
Yeah, so we'll get to see December 1st. They actually play each other, so that'll be super hype. But the good thing for Roll20 is that in that first game, they were even up until like level 14. Someone gets caught, they make a bad call, the game ends. Like, it was literally 2 missteps, and they weren't even like huge missteps. It was like getting caught was acceptable. It was a good play by Dig. And then forcing boss was a good shot call by Dig to respond. Then they lost the game. Then the second game, they lose like early, they're down the entire game, and then they actually make good plays, keep themselves in it throughout mid-game, get a pick, and come back a bit and almost get 16, and then lose 1 fight and the game ends. So they were actually surprisingly close to Dig, in my opinion. I thought it'd be much more convincing in Dig's favor. So even though it was 2-0, my perception of the Royal 20 roster went up after that series.
Yeah. I mean, last week, I think it was, you said you really didn't expect much out of the Chinese teams. And, you know, looking at the actual standings, you can see that that is definitely warranted. Let me pull it up here. Because, honestly, Roll20, they beat SPT 2-0. They got BTG 2-0. And they're sitting in a good position right now. But the O2 versus Dig, you know, you said you got some additional confidence there from them. That's good to hear. They are the one North American team playing in China over this 2-week period for GCWC. Current standings: KSB Black, Ballistics, Roll20, Fnatic in the top 4. Dig is 3-3 right now. That means Dignitas did get 2 of their wins off Roll20, but Dignitas went 1-1 versus CE, and they went 0-2 versus KSB Black, which, let's be honest, no one should be surprised. They are the favorites for the event. That's MVP Black under their new name.
I think the biggest surprise is that Fnatic went 1-1 somehow. Like, I have no idea what happened in the Cursed game on day 1, but they actually just played out of their minds, and they outplayed KSV, and won the game. So, yeah, that's the big surprise, actually. Like, KSV dropping a game is honestly more surprising than KSV winning the whole tournament.
Did you guys catch Fnatic versus Ballistics? I have not seen that.
Yeah, both EU versus Korea series from last night were pretty brutal.
They weren't worth watching, or?
Yeah, it was. They were stomping pretty hard.
Good thing I stay sleeping, man.
Good yeah. It's a tough schedule. It definitely is. Well, there's a lot more going on at the group stage happening through December 3rd. And if you want to know how to follow the results and everything, Liquipedia is a really good resource for that. That's where I tend to go, just because it's very easy to check and read, and they've been very good about keeping it up to date. Chat saying Dig got destroyed by Ballistics. All right, I will pass checking out that VOD. On the side of Europe, we can shift over. Oh, what?
They didn't even play Ballistics.
Oh, maybe I misread it. Maybe. Anyways. The side of Europe, these are final. If you're listening, you know, you guys have probably seen and heard it, but it just confirmed the final players on every team. Since our last show, I think the only team we did not know was Arcaner and Schwimpy on Expert. And did we have the confirmation of Diamond Skin Squad? I don't know if we did, but it's Darkmock, Robodoba, Roskeg, Roskmeg, Wolfjo, and Nande.
Okay. Another surprise, actually, I didn't think of it first. Or 2 more surprises. Robodoba got a team without even being in the UK. He's still back in Australia, and he got a team, which was like, I don't think anyone expected that, even him. Like, even if he's a worthy player, I don't think he expected that.
I didn't expect Blizzard to be like, okay, you're good. Like, yeah.
And then Roskmeg got picked up for the team as well. So Diamond Skin, kind of similar to Space Station, actually making risky moves in terms of who they're looking to pick up.
So who were the players, the big players, Bakery, that you look at as the biggest surprises for not finding a new home?
I think Nape is the big one. Honestly, everyone else I can see reasons for. And, well, maybe I don't agree with my external perspective from the decisions some teams made. I don't think anyone but Nape did, like, truly was 100% the better option for some of these teams.
Okay. Collusion, any thoughts on the European side of HGC?
It looks interesting, that's for sure. I want to see, like, how it's gonna go down between Fnatic, Dig, Expert, Liquid. All those roster looks so good to me. So I want to see what's gonna go down. Like Arcaner looks like a monster too. So I really hope him and Roba and Jishuta do well. Like it's pretty awesome that a minor region player get actually a chance to play in HGC. It's pretty cool.
Traditionally, Fnatic and Dig have been at the top. If you had to just kind of throw it out there and pick a third place team here, or another team that would challenge the top three, is it Expert? Is it Liquid? Is it Diamond Skin? Who is it?
Zealots, possibly.
Yeah.
As well. ADRD and Chris.
Could be anyone though, right? That's how Europe feels.
Yeah, I don't know. Zealous looks so good. They all look good, man. Like I don't know. It's hard to say. It's like I have no clue.
Bakery, what
Okay.
about you? Now that we know all the squads.
So, at the start of HGC, week 1, Dignitas, Fnatic, small gap in between the two. They're very competitive. A fairly large gap. Expert, a bigger gap. Liquid, Tricked, Zealots, another medium-sized gap.
Huh. Baker's
It's
just
tough.
got, he just
It's
scrolls
tough,
down,
though.
he hits enter like 6 times, that's the gap. Then he goes down, he's like, all right, only 2 spaces between these teams.
I'm gonna put Diamond Skin over Leftovers.
So you, okay.
They're both very, very competitive. From my
Alright.
entirely outside, no inside information perspective, that's how I think week 1 will go.
I don't know how many people followed what you said. I totally didn't. That's fine. Let's just compare Expert and Zealots, right? Early on, these are very different teams when you consider the changes that were made to them. ADRD and Chris, some of these guys are swapping from one team to the other. Zealots being a new squad in general, coming in from Open Division in Phase 2, but to bring in, seasoned players like ADRD and Chris with kind of their unique flair, especially ADRD, seems like an interesting team. But then you got Athro, Arcaner, Nick, Curse, and Shrimpy. To me, that looks like a little bit more of a raw talent, whereas Zealots could have some unique, like, just brilliant outplay, outdraft, outthink, maybe not just, out mechanically play. Who's the better of the two? Not day one, end day, like end game.
Okay, so Expert lost ADRD, who was a very key influencing force in how they drafted, and Bad Benny, who was the key force in how they played the rotations and also the late game. So drafter and shot caller, 2 different people, both left. In terms of what Nick and Curson brought to the team, I honestly don't think stylistically they bring anything. Nick is just pure mechanics, like possibly quite vocal, but does bring a lot, but not in terms of style. And Curson very much the same. Athero is swapping over to the shot caller and main tank position. And
He's been there before.
Yeah, that's his original role. And Swimpy is drafting for the team. So Expert is entirely different. Like, old Expert is just dead. Say goodbye. This is new Expert.
Yeah.
But new Expert is strong.
Mhm.
Like, these are 5 good players with potentially a very good drafter and potentially a very good shot caller. Comparing to Zealots, they're also honestly kind of similar. I think Mopsio, ADRD, they have very similar views on the game. ADRD leans towards some of the more extravagant drafting options, playstyle options. Mopsio, the closest to him, I would say, but not quite there. And Chris is a very similar style of player to Poyok, and not too far, or not too big a move in either direction, I would say. So Zealots is going to stay basically the same, in my opinion. They're going to get more solid from patch to patch, less variance, but their average power level should be the same.
Fair enough. That's a much more digestible power leveling of some of these teams, I think. Thanks for the insight, Bakery. Now, obviously, this is all going to be starting up soon, but we still don't have a true schedule for HGC next year, so we don't actually know when it's starting up. The off-season is where we are now, and GCWC is happening. My guess is that sometime after GCWC ends, they'll have the announcement. Maybe even at the end of it. That seems like a good way to, just utilize a big event like the Gold Club World Championship. Well, Chris in Zealots isn't that Vala guy. Damn. What? You lying, Chris. He's that Vala guy. Chris in chat. So, is it time for a support apocalypse?
It could be.
It could be.
It could be.
Are you ready for this? I guess we're going in, boys. So, we got a patch on the PTR. I guess last week. When did that patch hit on the PTR? It wasn't a Tuesday. It was a random time, right?
Because
we would have talked about it on Town Hall last week.
Hang on. So we have like 1 more week of patch, and then it's going to patch to live on the 5th.
No. The support changes went live today on NA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They went live everywhere today.
Okay. So
but
2 days ago,
that whole PTR patch is coming. That's next week. I think.
Okay, that makes sense. So they put those changes in the PTR just 2 days ago. And they gave us the preview of basically what's to come. So these patch notes have a Sergeant Hammer rework. The PTR did have Hanzo, and then of course supports received some pretty large changes. There were a few other tweaks in there, I believe, and I'm literally just rambling to pull up the changes. But TLDR, supports lost clear. If we look at Rhaegar, he lost that Bond Lightning, right? If you look at Malfurion, Moonburn, gone. This is something we knew going into this, that Blizzard wanted to take away lane clear from supports, because double support is so prominent. They're looking at that as one of the ways to disincentivize constantly having supports. Because if Rhaegar can go get Merc camps, if he can clear the lane, if he can do all these things, maybe he's able to do a little bit too much. And honestly, I think everyone agrees he could. But on top of that, I think what everyone didn't expect is they took about 5% of the health from most of the supports. They took damage and healing away from everyone as well. So let's start on the topic of supports losing damage. Everything from auto attacks on, a hero, arcane flare on Brightwing, you name it. Pretty much most talents, even the chain or the lightning shield, lost DPS. Do you think that supports needed to lose damage? Let's start with you, Collusion.
Maybe Rhaegar Monk. I don't know about the rest. Like Rhaegar Monk were like the support where you could literally like kill damage dealer on your own, basically.
Yeah.
The others, I don't think you can. Or I mean, unless you outplay really hard, But yeah, I'm not sure about the damage reduction on everything. It feels weird to me.
So anyone who wants to listen to discussion or have their own thoughts on these support changes should definitely read Blizzard's developer insights, where they talk about why they're making the changes, their thoughts on it, stuff like that. So I linked that in the chat. We'll put a link in the description of the video or whatever, and you can check that out. Basically, they sum it up and they say, here's why we think there's double supports. So, like a year ago, armor system. Then they started specializing people. Then they started giving supports more damage and wave clear and stuff to make them do more than just heal. Then they started nerfing things like Greymane because it was doing too much burst damage, like stuff like that. And then they poke heroes like the Ming. And eventually you get to a position where it's the perfect storm where double support is actually getting better and better accidentally with all these changes. So their approach is they identified those are the reasons, and their solution ideally is to not touch any of those because they think that they bring a lot of positives to the game. So they're trying to approach it by basically removing wave clear, and as something that makes it much harder to pick double support because it has a discernible weakness then. And nerfing damage, healing, and health by about 5% for every single support, just to make support as a role slightly weaker. My thoughts on the changes right now is I do not like them that much. I think they are...
Is it one thing? Is it everything? Should they have done half of this? Like, you don't like it, but why?
So, wave clear, removing wave clear, absolutely love it. Removing lightning bond, that had to go very clearly. Moonburn obviously gives Mafia the wave clear, so that has to go. Anything that gives anyone wave clear, take it out. But just the stats nerf in general is the change that I do not like currently, because I don't know if that does anything to actually stop double support. Like, I think you're nerfing healing by 5%, whether that's 2 healers who have 5% less healing or 1 healer who has 5% less healing. I don't know if that actually hurts double support more than solo support in any capacity. It might do, and I haven't had the chance to test it, so I can't say.
Okay. Some of these changes in particular, just to get your guys' POV on it, right at the start of the article, it mentions, we know characters like Tacit or Tyrande Medivh cannot be played as solo support. I mean, he's a specialist. Blizzard. They need to be paired with alongside a healer. This is totally fine. Yet, you know, those are heroes that were also targeted by these nerfs. Tyrande lost damage even on like her Owl, which I thought was surprising because that's kind of a build that doesn't really turn on till late game anyways. Level 13 you can get in power. Tyrande's already a mega niche. Tassadar, I'm always fine with Tassadar nerfs myself, but were you guys surprised to see heroes like that also being part of this basically nerf bat, even though they're not even being considered primary supports?
I think Tassadar was probably nerfed because he was viable and competitive. I think Tyrande was probably nerfed because someone made a mistake or something. I don't think Tyrande has any business being in those nerfs.
Tas is still totally broken, by the way. The nerf didn't do anything to him. He's still, since they like nerf every support down on wave clear, Tassadar priority goes even up. You know, so
oh no.
I don't know. So yeah, like be ready. First pick, first ban Tassadar. It's still a thing right now. So, unless they change something else, like it's still gonna be a thing. So I don't know.
All right, my first impression of this whole change, when I saw all the changes happen, people were asking me what's gonna happen. My perception was you're gonna see less double support in the sense of like Rhaegar or Lucio. You're gonna see more Tassadar, Medivh, Zarya. Maybe a Sonya that has decent self-sustain more commonly. Basically, someone else that can fill that void, because it almost feels like if supports now can't cleanse themselves, they can't ancestral themselves, they have less HP, so they're more vulnerable. You need a support for your support. So throw that Zarya bubble in to save your support. Support that support. Because in so many situations, the correct call for the fight is to be able to find a way to engage and kill the support. The moment the support steps out of line, they're done, like GG. And that's truly just seems like what the evolution is going to be. I mean, naturally they really don't want double support to be a thing, but what are your guys' anticipations of the evolution of the meta? And if Collusion, if you don't mind sharing, what can you give us an example of what a draft might look like on the PTR with these changes?
Double support is still a thing. The thing that changes like when you pick the support in the draft. So before you could literally just pick to support 1-2 and get away with it. Now it's more Rhaegar's pick, Ailey, Lucio 2 right now. And then if you need another support to react to their draft, you pick it on the 4-5 or like your last pick or something. It's just more situational, but it's definitely still a thing right now.
Yeah, and just to clarify, that was, again, in that big developer insights post. I'll link it again, just because it is definitely important that you do read it. They do say, we want double support to be a thing, but we don't want double support to be the most played strategy or the optimal strategy, regardless of situation.
Right.
So, yeah, if it's still like, what percentage of games would you say double support's being played, Collusion?
I'll say 50-50.
Okay.
About that.
So,
And by the
still...
way, sorry for the chat that is saying I'm leaking strats. 2018 isn't a while. I'm not worried, alright. But yeah, I'll say 50-50 right now. Yep.
So
probably still a bit higher than everyone would like, but definitely
it's a little better.
A little better, yeah.
And again, this is something that could evolve over time, right? People are still going to be adjusting, figuring out what works. And it's always good to continue pointing out some of the things they mentioned on this article. And, you know, they mentioned the 3 necessary roles here, which gets me excited for what I look at as the inevitable rebranding of the roles in the game, because we still have one multi-class, and it's just weird. They say you get a tank for your front line, a bruiser for your second warrior, and secondary front line. Honestly, this is often your off lane too, like a Sonya. And then you also have a healer to keep your team alive. This leaves 2 spots open. This could be double support. This could be assassin, like hyper carry, like Valar Greymane, or they want to see mages and other characters shine as well. And I mean, I'm glad that this is a strong like form of thinking for them to be like, all right, these are our roles: tank, bruiser, healer, carry, and then you know, in the other MOBA you have your AD carry, you have your AP mid, you have your jungle. We don't have it quite as defined, especially with all the different maps, but it's really cool in general just to see them balancing the game, trying to get a little bit closer to that metric, right? Because I think it makes the game a little bit more accessible to a lot of people. I'm not saying every map needs to have a jungle viable, right? This isn't Dota. This isn't League of Legends. But it's just good to see them trying to enable more in general in the meta. And I mean, Collusion, would you say that they're even close to doing that yet with these changes?
No, not really, but no. They're trying.
They're trying. That's what matters. My cat is so annoying. If you guys can hear that, I'm sorry, but he is meowing constantly. But so this kind of puts us in the situation where, you know, with this patch that did hit live today, with these support changes, are you guys worried? Are you hopeful with these bold moves? What is your perception of this direction with supports?
Go ahead, Baker.
Sure. So, all in all, there's a few things I do want to say. So the first off is, if your reaction, like some of Reddit was doing, is to basically to see these changes, to wait about 10 hours, less than 10 hours probably, and decide, I know 100% what these changes will do, why they were made, what it's going to feel like, and of course, what it means for the meta. If you're that kind of person, then please, like, just take a step back, think, that's my opinion, why do I think that? Try and really think it through, and work out, like, and if you still think these changes are terrible, that's fine. But say, I think these changes are terrible, and I think this will make me stop playing support. Not, these changes will make everyone stop playing support. That's a fact. So that's something I really wanted to say. One more thing. Oh, God.
We'll get to the other question in a minute. That's a good one.
One more thing I wanted to say is basically healing and damage in the game is not a static number. Like, the average damage isn't 100 all the time because things get buffed, nerfed. The average healing isn't 50 all the time. Like, let's go back 6 months. The average healing might have been up to 60. Well, if you nerf it now, it might be exactly where it was 8 months and 2 days ago. Like, numbers move all the time. They are not static. So nerfing healing by 5% might still be more effective healing than at a time when all supports were just weaker heroes, before the Uther rework, before Oriole got buffed, like stuff like that. So yeah, seriously, like these number changes aren't as big a deal as it seems.
My
It's still a big
first
deal.
I mean, yeah, I think it is, but it's not like totally insane. My first reaction was, "What the hell's going on?" But
Same.
after playing it, it's like it's not that big of a deal. I think Lightning Bond was a big deal, obviously, and needed
Yeah.
to be removed, in my opinion, too. But Moonburn, rip Malf. Malf is totally dead, in my opinion, now.
What about
so,
Celestial Attunement? You get that crit auto attack
yeah.
after a Moonfire.
Yeah, I don't
Come
know
on,
about
he's a
that.
combo mage.
Sure. And then they remove a broccoli too, right? So like no damage. It's,
I was so
it's
shocked
never-
about that, actually.
Like why?
Especially when the new Christmas skin has a tree, right? You have a Christmas tree when you pick that talent, but they nerf that talent. That's not how you sell skins, Blizzard. You need to buff that talent just for the holiday patch, then nerf it to the ground after you sell all the skins. See? Business. EA knows it. You just got to learn it.
Yeah, yeah, no, I mean, I think broccoli's a really bad talent, so I'm kind of sad it got nerfed. But still, this is a blanket nerf of all damage.
Yeah.
Just goes away, so.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I definitely have to agree. Again, I'm playing like Diamond 5 games, Scrub City, Plat 1, like literally just not GM at all. And my first game of Rhaegar, where I played him earlier today, patch went live, played him again, didn't know that was the balance patch. So I picked my Rhaegar. I'm like, oh, I don't have Bond Lightning here for my level 1. And honestly, it didn't really feel that different. My damage wasn't super noticeable. Feral Lunge still feels really good. I'm really glad they didn't like nerf Feral Lunge or something or take it away, because I think it gives Rhaegar some semblance of being like a melee. Yes, I don't have as much clear, but my clear is still solid just with the single W, right? You don't have to drop the totem as well. So if I'm not dropping as many totems to empower my W, I personally feel less likely to grab Feral Heart, because I'm going to be spending less mana. So then I can grab the healing totem and feel pretty good about that's impact on the game. And like, I had a Malfurion in my Hero League games today that went full on like Celestial Attunement, Broccoli, like slowing Moonfire. It was the oddest thing ever, and it was terrible, but it worked. We won the game. That's what matters, right? There's going to be some weird stuff happening during all of this, I think, where especially like the average player is figuring out how to build, how to play some of these heroes with the changes that are being made. But overall, again, like I said, that Rhaegar game, it didn't feel like I was worthless. I didn't feel hyper vulnerable or anything. Actually, Rhaegar didn't lose health, so maybe that's a bad example. But it's definitely, I think I had one game out of 6 or 7 that was double support, and that's a nice change for Hero League at the bare minimum.
I can agree with that for sure.
And it's the classic thing of perception matters more than what's actually going on. So something people have been saying in chat for a long time now, actually, is like, was double support always this good? And did you only find out about it like recently? Or did it actually get buffed? And who knows, right? Like double support might have been the best way to play the game for the past 2 years.
It's
just
entirely
no one was
possible.
doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So if the public thinks double support is no longer viable, and that's all we need to do. We don't need to not like make it viable. We just need to make everyone think it isn't.
Well, whatever gets the desired result, I guess. Now, Baker, you actually posted this in our Skype, and when my Skype flashes, I'm always alerted. It usually means something is terribly wrong, but actually in this case, it means that Yoda posted a wonderful message in the chat saying, question from the chat for Bakery. Do you think any teams would have made any different roster moves if they had known that the double support was getting nerfed? And that is a good question. So shall I pull up the rosters for you to take a gander?
So I've been thinking about this one actually, and I do not think so. So the obvious one is obviously Team Dignitas getting rid of Mane, or Mane leaving. Like maybe they would try harder to stick with that if they knew that Mane would be able to play mates again, 100%. But even then, like trading for Poyok is like a trade that they're completely fine with. Fnatic, like Mane getting to play with them is a trade that he was totally fine with. So I don't think that would have changed anything. Yeah, in my opinion, I don't think any rosters would change. But it is an interesting thing to think about. Collusion, you know, any rosters that would have changed? Or did you make any different decisions because of double support meta?
I don't think so. I think like any good player can adapt to like flex the support or just play damage, right? But the interesting thing to think about is, let's say we knew for a fact that double support will stay in the game. Well, the roster change will have been different, right? So let's say, do you pick up 2 support on a roster, or do you just go for a flex? Like, there's some question like that could be interesting, but I guess we'll never find out.
There's a lot of questions in chat in general right now, and we're going to save viewer questions till the end of the show. We'll do those on Discord. I hope we have a Discord command in chat. I think I'm a good Samaritan. Bam. There's a TownHall Heroes discussion there where we will take questions a little bit later. Outside of the patch notes, we've talked a little bit about supports. Naturally, like we said, these changes are big, but you guys said it best. It's not the end of the world. It's not that big of a deal. It's not going to be this huge change in the game. You're not going to necessarily see your Hero League games rocking no supports. I mean, I know people are joking about that. Like, why don't you draft just all assassins? And I was like, what? Like, I don't know. I don't think it's that bad. Yeah, naturally it's a shift, but we'll get there. The only other big change, I think, on the PTR that we haven't touched on is the fact that Sergeant Hammer surprisingly did get a rework. Just quickly checking Johanna and Sonia's changes to make sure that they aren't worth mentioning before we go into Hammer. Because
so Poison Spear.
Yeah, Poison Spear finally nerfed, but it's only down to 125%.
It's not a big nerf at all.
It still hurts like a truck. Yeah.
So here's how I would have done this nerf. I would have taken it down to 100%, and make it be terrible, and then buff it back up, like, let's say 2 weeks later to 125, just so you get everyone to swap off while it's a bad talent, and hopefully maintain a much more balanced like thing there. Whereas like it just feels like everyone's going to still keep taking it because it's close enough. It's only like 10% damage nerf or something. Like,
yeah,
if you force people off of it first, then there is talent diversity where people get to try the other talents and maybe stick with them because they prefer that playstyle.
That's a fair way of looking at it. Zwalu in chat actually just pointed out something very important as we were trying to get away from the support discussion. I know a lot of you expected a 2-hour support show. We're going to disappoint you, and that's not happening. But we are going to tune back into it with Dunk Train Ponders, a new segment here on the show. Personally, I don't think the magnitude of the nerfs is so heavy-handed as to legitimize the complaints, but the blanket generalized manner in which the nerfs were applied while missing what a lot of the community, and I personally, feels were the actual cause of support issues. Armor/specialization caused the /IMO. If the same amount of power was taken away from each support hero as this patch, but each one tweaked in a unique way, it wouldn't have felt so offensive, I'm sure. Part 2. Overall, I think that supports were overtuned and removing the most powerful level 1 wave clear talent was a good decision. But I think it's armor-laden tanks with high kill pressure along with what feels like unanswerable dive or displacement effects that results in picking 2 healers to feel like you can save someone from the... Something didn't copyright. I'm gonna look at the chat log and... I didn't proofread this! It was epic! It was perfect! From the pressure. Additionally, as a primarily support player, it is painful to feel like the liability/weak point for the team at all times, which will just be pronounced after these HP changes. And is a trend starting all the way back with removing self-cleanse and ancestral. The words of Dunk Train 2017, rest in peace.
That's actually something we spoke about all the way back then. So I was actually doing 2 shows at the time. I was appearing on TownHall and State of Nexus, and every single panelist spoke about an hour each show across like multiple episodes, I would say, about how much we hated that Rhaegar ancestral removal and self-cleanse removal before that, and how that was a trend where supports are just going to be the weaklings for the team, and it's going to really cripple their ability to make aggressive plays. And honestly, I think that's what we've seen. Like, we've seen Relentless removed as well from supports, like health nerfs now, Uther rework that honestly makes it more important he's in the backline. Yeah, like, I think Dunk's made a really good point there.
And if you're just tuning in, Dunk is sick. He's not Ripperoni for real, but he is ill. But he at least took the time to write us his thoughts about the support discussion, which I was very thankful for and glad we got that in. But moving on from supports, yeah, the Poison Spear change, maybe not huge, but still a step in the right direction for Sonya. I think Sonya's still in a pretty good spot overall. She doesn't feel overwhelmingly powerful or anything, just as a level 7 talent, definitely. Why would you pick anything else, right? Sergeant Hammer, however, did receive a pretty big rework. We're going to hop into that to a second. They removed the mana cost of pretty much any trait activatable. I think from Iron Skin to Minigun to I think everything across the board. Traits no longer cost mana if it's an activatable, which is just a really nice quality of life thing. The number of times that Johanna might have died because they didn't have mana to cast Iron Skin, well, they don't have to worry about that anymore. Which is pretty cool. Zul'jin got some tweaks to make him less of a mage and more of an in-between mage and auto, right? Overlay. What's wrong with it? You want to look at the patch notes?
Yes.
There you go.
There you go.
So we've got the patch notes up here for Zul'jin.
I was surprised by how hard they went in on Zul'jin, actually. I mean, I know he had a high win rate and he was like still climbing, but I feel like not enough people were playing him yet. And he's still not a hero that I looked at and was like, hell yeah, like got a Zul'jin on the team, you know?
Yeah. I mean, obviously Amani Rage really hurts the mage build, right? The changes they made to this year. Because that gave you that snap, safe, health reduction to cast your guillotine where you'd have, you know, just a high impact whenever you want it, right? You could just engage and do what you want. But that 10-second duration of your regen and your armor value reduced to 5, like, it's a huge nerf on that ability, on that talent.
I think it's good. Like, people won't be able to just blind pick Zul'jin and one-shot people. In HL at least, so now you're gonna need to be more worried about your health and stuff. So I think it's a good nerf, deserved.
Bakery, overall thoughts on the Zul'jin changes? You said you weren't expecting it. Are they justified? Even if you weren't expecting it, are they justified?
In my opinion, no. So like each individual nerf, in my opinion, is good. But the fact they stacked them so hard on top of each other, I think is a bit too much. So, like, Maidesbury got nerfed on the ultimate, on the level 1 talent, on the level 4 talent, on the level 7 talent, Probably even the level 13 talent, and then the level 16 talent as well. It got nerfed every single talent tier. Like which they stack on top of each other, so it gets like worse and worse the more you nerf it. So like, I don't know. It just felt like there was too much of it, to be honest.
Collusion, who do you play Zul'jin for?
I don't play Zul'jin actually. I don't know if you heard, the Dunk Train is playing Zul'jin for every pro player. So, yeah.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
He's got a special HCC though, yeah.
Yeah, but not for you. Just for
he plays Zul'jin for him.
Yeah.
He supplies the axes because no one else will.
Good. I mean, someone's got to do it, right? It's a man's job. Last but not least, Sergeant Hammer rework did come to the meta where they wrapped. It's so funny because I actually said, I don't know if it was last week, the week before, but I don't know why we were talking about Hammer, but I said Hammer really just needs a third ability because Siege mode does not feel like a third ability. So many people, especially newer players, they'll siege thinking they have to siege, but the answer is in a lot of cases you don't want to siege. That might not be true anymore with the rework that we got here for Sergeant Hammer because it's actually quite the big rework where the siege is now her trait and she has an E that gives her armor. This armor is up to 100% armor if you're in siege mode. Tons of new talents. She's got hover siege and graduating range at level 7, so that's early game. They are lesser versions of what they were before. She's got some crazy mine talents, so she drops mines while she's using her boost. She's got mines that lower your armor at level 20, and you will literally just die if you walk into 3 mines. Hammer will tear you apart in 2 seconds. So have you guys played the new Hammer at all yet? No.
Nope.
Negatory. Bakery? Negative.
Yeah, no, I've also not played New Hammer, I'm afraid. But I have seen Moonfares play New Hammer. And I have played Medic alongside his Hammer. And we did end the game reliably 3 times in a row in 7 minutes.
All right.
Okay, that's a thing. I mean, is it safe to say that you think the new Hammer is better than the old Hammer?
Yeah, honestly, I think she's a lot better, but maybe not in competitive. So if you just buffed Hammer's numbers to the point where she had like the same auto attack DPS as other heroes in her role, like Greymane, like Valor, you know, even Tigers and Raynor, if you just buffed her very slightly, she'd have been a viable competitive pick because she does have a lot of tower pressure. She does have a lot of safe damage that can be put onto backline if you make space or frontline if you don't. And she is quite survivable. So she was a fine hero in competitive. She was just undertuned. Whereas now, I feel like a lot of her power is now in siege mode. And if you have voice comms and you have a team, it's much easier to actually counter that Hammer and engage on her and punish her for sieging. Whereas in Hero League, every time I've seen it picked, what seems to happen is the Hammer sieges up one by one. Like one guy comes from the side, loses like 30% HP, then someone comes from the front, someone else comes from the front at the same time. Like don't even get in range of the Hammer and then like run away again, and then like so like a Mirrodin just jumps in out of nowhere and kills himself. Like oh my god, like please guys, just as one like. So I think she'd be a really strong Hero League hero and like match-made play hero, but probably not viable in competitive in this form. That's my opinion.
I could agree with that. I've played against her once in scrims, and she's just like the old Hammer, super vulnerable. She does hurt, but you can kill her pretty easily, right?
Even
but
with her E?
Yeah,
Even,
surprisingly. Yeah.
So it's 50% armor, Jake.
It's 100% in tank mode, I thought.
So no. It's just a bad tooltip in my opinion. It's 100% more. So it goes to 50.
Yeah. It's still ridiculous.
It's still a lot, and if you pair it with a medic, she gets 75 armor for like 3 seconds, and medic healing her. So it's just like she's insane. Like you can't kill her.
That's fair.
Maybe we'll see some cheese around there, like some crazy medevac tutorial stuff.
Oh no, I definitely think that she'll have a place for some kind of weird, stupid strat on a specific map. Sure, maybe she works out on BOE or something. Again, not like an early game pick, but like if they don't have any dive, we grab hammer and we do blah 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 blah. Because she does have some cool new talents. Like in particular, one of them that I kind of enjoy is just the new level 1 talent she has, Maelstrom Shells. You have 3 charges of it. It's 40% additional damage for 5 seconds. So I guess it's probably only like 3 auto attacks, but if you're in siege mode, 40% additional damage that's splashing is significant, and you can reduce the cooldown of this by attacking structures. So hitting structures with basic attacks reduces the cooldown of this by 5 seconds. Each charge is a 90-second cooldown, but if you're able to siege up a wall safely, even here and there, and do some damage to structures, that is a significant increase in being able to pull that kind of damage back in. And it gives Hammer a little bit more oomph in the DPS. Late game, she does feel like pretty damn good from, again, just as this is just PTR quick match, so it's totally irrelevant information. But the shrapnel mines, you know, it's 3 seconds of 10 armor reduction. I played the mine build where your mines pulse multiple times. You get the detonation pulse. It's like, it's a very different hero than what we used to have. Is she going to be competitive based on what you guys said? Probably not. Is she better? I think so. And she's fun. It's new. It's refreshing to have some new builds and stuff to play with a hero like Hammer that's been around since the olden days, really.
I'm really happy they kept both ultimate upgrades. That's my opinion. Like, orbital BFG, I love some quick match with orbital BFG hitting all 50.
Yeah.
So satisfying.
The best.
And then the range on the napalm strike just makes me feel so good every time I play it. It's like, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the lava wave. Is that what? No, not lava wave, but it's called lava something.
Advanced lava strike.
Advanced lava strike makes you feel fancy.
I know the name off by heart.
Fantastic. I mean, Collusion, is there any other, like, what was I going to say here? Any other thoughts just regarding basically the balance patch and the gameplay changes that are on the PTR right now? Not necessarily the live changes you want to talk about. Like, I mean, I should just ask this right now. Have you guys tried Hanzo in scrims? How does he look? Bad.
So bad. He's so bad. Oh, no. Like, just, what is it? Wizard at 7 on ETC, right? You just slide him, W on him, he's 50%. Like, he's super squishy. His damage is not crazy. So, I don't know. He looks pretty bad right now. So, hopefully they buff him at some point, because he's pretty trash right now.
Honestly, I just don't think his kit is... I just hate playing him. Like, he feels so clunky to me. He looks so clunky. Like, the D especially, the range on that, like, I have no idea how it even works. Like, at least half the time I try to use the D, I do not go over the wall, and I don't know why.
Really?
Like, have you had the same experience, Collusion, or?
Yeah, Lutano was playing Anzo, and he was like, wait, I cannot do anything with this hero. What's going on? And I don't know, we had a lot of fun with him. We tried him, obviously. It's a new hero, why not?
Yeah.
But he's not good. Straight up, not good.
Monkey
I think... I don't know, like, the thing about Hanzo as well is I just don't think he even got close to, like, the fantasy of Hanzo. Like, because Hanzo in Overwatch is literally, like, I sit back, you know, I'm throwing arrows, then I try and, like, go up, like a wall, you know, and, like, get a really nice position on the high ground. Like, I have none of that feeling in terms of positioning with Hanzo, and then actually fighting with him, like in Overwatch, you are spamming arrows, like trying to land like this really cool long range shot, or you're trying to land like a lot of arrows when you're close. You don't get that. Scatter arrow is like shot at the floor or in a narrow corridor. That's not a thing in Heroes. His ultimate, like what's it called? Like
the dragon arrow?
Something?
The arrow?
Dragon strike?
Yeah.
Dragon strike, yeah. that doesn't play like it does in Overwatch either, because the
No.
activation time is like huge. It just doesn't feel like Overwatch Hanzo in the slightest, actually.
So, yeah, I mean, I played probably 4 or 5 games of him, and like, Scattershot just feels bad. There's a build where you can get like hyper short cooldowns as your auto attacks basically reduce the cooldown for it, and you can get Pierce on it and everything. And it feels like it's literally just like a poke tool, like a scouting tool. You just shoot it against a wall, you let it bounce around, and you hope it hits something. But then his E is a scout too, so Hanzo is like the ultimate scouter. His Q is a short cooldown, does decent damage. The Dragon Strike that you talked about, I mean, we saw that one amazing Wombo video on Reddit where, yeah, it might have got they got a beautiful team wipe, and it feels like a cool Wombo ult, but so easy to walk out of, and if you just step out of it because it's got a huge wind up, it does nothing. And the other ult, however, whatever it's called, the arrow, the big wind up arrow,
the Ash arrow.
Yeah, like the Ash arrow. Yeah, it's literally the Ash ult,
but way worse.
But way worse, way worse. And honestly, like, this isn't League of Legends or Dota where you can justify throwing out that ability and hoping someone else is there to follow up, right? Like, have a Zeratul stealth, shoot that shit across the map, have it hit and get a kill. That's only valuable in a really late game situation. Any other time you do that, like, that's not worth it. So while it has cool applications late game, like level 20, I mean, especially with the teleport to the arrow and do the bonus damage, like after it hits, you can like jump up and do additional damage, do a Hanzo flip, and then spray them and feel cool about your life. I don't know if it's too long of a cooldown, I feel, to justify what it is.
Well, the other thing is it's half the duration of Ash Hour, which you can say CC is different across games. Like, clans might not be there in quick match, and you can make a ton of arguments for why that is. But the result is that it doesn't feel like a very strong heroic. At least not yet. I could definitely see this one being quite strong and competitive in terms of you're looking to force a fight, so that Hanzo takes a few steps back, fires the arrow, gets like a 6-3 man, EPC follows, Mioden follows, like Lightwing teleports in, Genji goes on that. I can see a lot of combos being made off of that in competitive, but not in Hero League.
Yeah. Could be cool. That's the one thing that gives me a lot of hope for him. I think chat is saying a lot of people wish his Q charged up a little bit quicker or something. That would be cool too, right? Just give him a little, make him feel a little bit more like an agile archer, not this, I'm gonna walk around and hopefully eventually I'll shoot you. Like, I just stomped in my house and my cats are probably scared.
I love that I could hear your feet there. You committed.
Esports. Cool. Well, I mean, that's the patch notes for this week. And the one thing that we haven't touched on yet, and chat's been asking for, and I just punched my mic, so it sounded awesome, I'm sure, is Collusion. Have you experienced the stealth changes in scrims in the PTR?
Valera is busted. Pretty good hero so far. Zeratul is way different. Like a lot of blinks, talent. So it's like hard to count now how many blinks you have. So it's like way different. Other than that, it's the same. They're just easier to see. And yeah, that's basically it.
I think the major thing is that in competitive, stealth isn't going to change very much.
No.
We already saw these people. Like,
yeah,
people were already playing on like whatever graphics setting was easiest for them to see. They were committing hard to tracking these stealth heroes and realizing where they were. So in competitive alone, stealth isn't going to change much, except the heroes now have to play more intelligently around stealth. So the big changes are stuff like movement speed in stealth, stuff like juking in terms of here's a clone, here's me showing, but I'm blinking, like juking like that, and then standing still for 1.5 seconds and going fully invisible. Those are the cool things, and that just adds outplay potential, in my opinion. So stealth's getting very slightly more skillful in competitive, and not much is changing about playstyle, is how I see it.
People in the chat are asking about builds. Guys, I'm a support player. I have no idea like, how to
I
build
don't think
Valera.
Valera.
I don't play Valera, but yeah, she seems really good. And yeah, there's a thing where stealth heroes like Valera, if you pick heroes that can unstealth them, they lose a lot of power. And they're easier to see as well. So there's like a cool mechanic right now, like hero like Genji or just Malf, you just throw Shuriken on them and they lose a bunch of power. So it's pretty cool.
Especially Valera, losing her stealth abilities, it ruins her day and it takes away her 2.75 second silence. Everyone loves a 2.75 second silence.
I mean, I don't, but
not as a support player.
yeah, makes my life hard, man.
Yeah, it'll be a weird world if Valera is meta, and it's, you know, based on what you said, it sounds like that very well could be the case. Cool. Well, I mean, honestly, we've talked about the patch, we've talked about the rosters, and we talked with Collusion about all the gameplay changes and his experiences on the PTR. Is there anything we might have missed from the PTR that you've experienced from the new stuff?
I mean, I think we covered it pretty much. The support change, I think, overall are okay. We just need to get used to it. And other than that, the big thing, I think, is like the ammo and the tribute, the RNG remove, and all that stuff. That's a big change. And we'll see a lot of different gameplay on those maps in 2018 for sure.
Does it feel like all the teams are still tinkering as to how to approach the new stuff?
Yeah, for sure. Like every day we're trying other stuff. Like sometimes we see team going super macro and see how they can get away with it, or just play objective all the game long. And yeah, I think people are still figuring out what's going on. And at some point, I think a meta will settle on every map, and we'll see more comps running around that too.
So I think teams should basically stream themselves going.
Dude, that'd be so good.
Not just because I want to watch, but also because like HCC isn't for quite a while. Whatever strats you use now are not going to be the strats you use in HCC. So if let's say you scrim Tempo Storm, if you guys get together, like all 5 players from each team stream their perspectives, make it a big event, like guys come here and then like, you know, do replay analysis, answer questions about it.
Better
teach
yet,
people how to actually draft. Like, this would be amazing.
HGC teams Europe and America, let us know if Bakery and I can cast your games. We
could do that.
Your scrims. Let us cast your scrim blocks during the off season. That would be awesome. I pet my mic. I was so excited about that idea.
You know, we could make like a GoFundMe of like.
So pay the teams to play like scrim blocks? Yeah.
No, like we can really commit to this.
Wait, I will do it for free, but I'm down, you know. Like, but I'm not gonna say which team, but we asked a team to do that, and they said no. So Freedom is down to do that. We just need to find a partner to make that happen.
So like any other HGC, sorry guys. Any other HGC team down to do that? Like. Hit Team Freedom up. The gauntlet's concerned.
We'll make that happen, then. I'm down for that, for sure.
Sellout. Good. Grand. Excellent. Esports is the final topic of the evening. Bakery, we did briefly touch on the Nexus games. Let's get the recap here. I'm going to pull up the website. Poland wins. Spoilers.
Yeah, no, Poland were insane, actually. Like, that entire Poland team, if they enter Open Division, I think they have a very high chance of making HCC. Like, in Phase 2, they were extremely strong.
They had a StarCraft player on their lineup, I think.
Yeah, so they had Mana.
What's his name? Yeah,
Liquid Mana. Liquid Mana. That was really fun to see him tweeting about it, because at first, like, I didn't tune into the Nexus games. I'm not gonna lie, guys. I'm too busy, Bakery. I watched like one of your casts, and I was really proud. You know, that's my boy. That's my boy Bakery. But you know, I don't have a country to root for. Who do I root for? The UK? If they got They got
Nah,
slaughtered.
don't move for the UK.
Yeah, so I can't do that. But you know, I mean, Mana's been around for forever. He actually, I don't know. I think I used to ref him in StarCraft 2, so that was fun to see him tweeting about that. But yeah, they took the W. Do you think this was overall like a similar kind of effect for the European scene, bringing in new faces and a new kind of life into the game in a different way, akin to what Dorm does for NA?
Absolutely. So, like, just to be clear, not speaking for Blizzard here because I'm not sure how down they are for this comparison, but in my eyes, this is just Heroes of the Dawn for Europe. Like, there was a lot of new talent, there were a lot of amateur rosters, there were a lot of like wacky plays going on, and it was just overall like a really great tournament in my opinion. And there were players that popped up out of nowhere, like B Guy from the Netherlands. So we look at the Netherlands team, we say, okay, well, these guys play Hero League, that they might be good, like we don't really know. If these two are like high ranked in Hero League, so we're gonna keep our eyes on them. And the first game, this guy, he's called B Guy. He plays a Nubarak. He just absolutely smashes like the game, like completely carries, like cocooning 100% the correct target, making plays like let's focus like this guy. Like he was really playing insane, and no one had ever heard of him before. And a ton of people like online were commenting on how good he was. Like in the studio, we were freaking out over how good he was. And that kind of thing was just super cool to me as like a former professional player currently, to basically like be able to help shape that storyline and help a guy like that who like has real potential like get his name out there. That was cool. So I really enjoyed
Invaluable,
that.
really. Yeah, that's super cool.
And then Portugal was a super cool storyline as well, where it was 5 people who nobody, like not even teams in the tournament knew, and they almost beat Russia and Sweden were in the finals. Like, they were so close to beating Sweden.
Shit.
Now, obviously, the tournament wasn't all great, so we did have Volskaya in it first.
Do you know
Volskaya had a bug.
Yeah,
that
okay,
was
it was
a
a bug.
remake of the game. Then on the day of the quarterfinals, we only managed to play one series across 5 hours because there were huge European server issues where players, our observers, our admins, everyone was just trying to log in, randomly getting kicked out, like everyone all across Europe. This wasn't like a Nexus Games issue. This wasn't even a Blizzard issue. This was a random like ISP hardware issue. It was insane. Like how unlucky we got. And so we had to play 3 series off stream, and we didn't get to cast them. So that was very unfortunate. There were a lot of good games, I can tell you. There were really wacky picks like Valera, Vexar. There was even Zul'jin, which we were looking for like the entire Nexus games. Like on the commentary at least. So it's a real shame we didn't get those games, but honestly, guys, like nothing to be done. That's just unlucky. That's sometimes how things are. And we got a really nice final day as well, where Sweden made this super hype series over France, which like no one expected. They played really well. And then Poland showed like truly amazing play, which was super cool.
Truly amazing. So hopefully that's the first of many Nexus games for Europe, even though technically there was Nexus games last year for NA, stealing our events.
There was one for Europe as well, Jake.
Last year? Was there?
Yeah, it was just it was basically like the HGC trial one.
Oh, that's right. All right, you win this round, Bakery. You still stole our event. Forever, you're my enemy. Gold Club World Championship is the other thing happening as we are in the off season for HGC. And you know, we did briefly touch on this earlier. If you're not up to date, you're about to be spoilered. Surprise. Also, if you would like to partake in the viewer questions live on the show tonight, exclamation point in Discord and chat for the Discord link. There is a Town Hall Heroes channel within the Arcane 8 Discord, so you can check that out. The standings right now for GCWC: KSV Black 5-1, Ballistics 5-1. Korea is pretty good apparently. Roll20 2-0'd 2 Chinese teams, but got 0-2'd by Dignitas Fnatic. They're sitting at 3-3 as after playing both Ballistics and KSV Black already. That's a pretty impressive spot to still be in after facing 2 Korean teams, getting 1 game off KSV Black. And then Dignitas also sitting at 3-3. Challenge, SPT, and Beyond the Game. Bakery, you said you didn't have any faith in the Chinese teams in their home turf, and so far, looking pretty justified in those, you know, assessments.
The one thing I will say, it's really funny, okay? So Wins is a player on CE. He's a tank player, and he just has, like, he plays a game. He is legitimately the best tank player in the world. He hard carries that game all the way to the victory. Like, his team's inting, he doesn't care. He saves them, like, time and time again. He's, like, soloing people. He's making picks out of nowhere. And then next game, he'll follow up and just play like an animal. And I have no idea why he does it. But he's done it at 3 events in a row. Like, he did mid-season, or I think it was probably playoffs for like, China or something like that. Then he did BlizzCon, which I watched, and now he's done it at Gold Club as well. Like, he's truly... the game he plays well, he's insane. But all the other times, he's just a pretty average guy. And then there's one game as well where he runs straight for the mid lane, and no one can convince him otherwise.
So Collusion, a lot of people at BlizzCon were saying NA is only beating these Chinese teams because they had roster visa issues, yada, yada, yada. Is China the weakest of the major regions, or is NA stepping their game up? What's the status?
I don't know. It looks like it, at least. When we were at BlizzCon, we scrum, I think, every Chinese team, and they were pretty weak. They didn't have their full roster, so we were, like, blaming the visa and stuff. And now we see a tournament like this. Obviously, it's a bunch of great teams, so it's kind of hard to judge. Like, you know, BTG is getting beat by MVP Black. You know, it's expected, right? Like, so I don't really know what to get from this. I was expecting at least CA to do a little better, but we'll see. The tournament's still young, so we'll see how it goes. But it's kind of disappointing to see SPT and BTG doing supporter.
Like CE is surprising. So as I was mentioning about Wins, right? So game 1 against Dignitas, he plays the Garrosh. He's like, Dignitas, you're coming with me. He just like picks them up, like smashes them into walls and stuff. And like they win the game with Dignitas, and then like he does the same thing against Ballistics. Like I think he was playing Arthas in that game though. So that was a bit weird. And then he does the like rundown mid thing against SPT. So they went 1-1 against Dig, like huge result, great team. 1-1 against Ballistics, huge result, great team. And then went 1-1 against SPT. Like, oh come on, CE, like you're better than this.
Yeah, that's disappointing. The best way to put it. Disappointing.
So anyway, to provide some context on the Chinese downfall, basically what's happening is Tencent is this huge company, like one of the biggest companies in the world. They basically have a monopoly on games
in China.
In China, the only other company of comparable size is NetEase. So NetEase is the Blizzard partner, and Tencent has made it their mission to pull all of their players into either League of Legends or a mobile game called Arena of Valor, to the point where they are going to teams from other MOBAs like Dota, other games like Counter-Strike, Crossfire, all these other games that Chinese people play. They're going to the top teams from those games. They are literally bribing them to swap games to the point where it's like, well, yes, obviously, like, so to put this in context of like, of like an NA thing. Let's imagine PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds gets super popular, wants a super big esports scene. So they go to Tempo Storm Low 20 Team Freedom. They say, guys, we're gonna pay you 1 million per year, and we're gonna give you a spot in our league instead of paying you guys 100,000 a year. Do you want to come? Now, Collusion, would you say yes?
I mean, it's a lot of money, but it's hard to compare PUBG though. But let's say it's League or Dota, right? Another MOBA that we're at least decent at, you know.
So
I don't know, probably.
You got to play a HOTS ripoff on your phone.
Oh no, hell no.
Because honestly, that's
no mobile game. But yeah, that's the truth in China though. Like a lot of players switch to mobile game, and it's totally insane to me. But I guess money is money, man.
That's why they are offering literally 10 times more money, bribing them to swap
games. But you guys are laughing about the joke about playing a HOTS ripoff on your phone. But in reality, that's actually what happened to a lot of the Chinese players. They're playing a mobile MOBA. That is a terrible thing to say and a terrible thing to exist. But yeah, I mean, it's just $1 million. I would do it. I'd sell out so fast, dude. Like, get me in there.
Honestly, like, money doesn't really matter to me. I'm all about passion, competitive drive, that
You're
stuff.
You're pure
but,
soul.
Like, if someone offers me like 10 times more money, then I'm like, 10 times more, dude? I could be a millionaire. Like, literally. Like, why would I say no to this? Like, well, I'm not sure. I am like 60% sure I would say yes if someone offered me 10 times more money.
Speaking of sellouts and money and all of that good stuff, TownHall Heroes has a Patreon, and we're looking to evolve the show in a lot of meaningful ways in 2018 for extraordinary HGC coverage. You can go to patreon.com/TownHallHeroes or subscribe here on Twitch to support our show. Thank you.
Good job.
Thanks,
dude. I didn't even notice we were selling out then.
I found a window and I went for it. It is now time for viewer questions on the Discord. Get in there. I already plugged it once. The TownHall Heroes channel. Oh, there's already... Oh, we got Lauber. To Bakery. Are you having any plans to cast the European Open Division in 2018? Ooh, on the spot.
Okay, hang on. As you get it.
I mean...
Okay. So honestly, yes, I am completely down to do that. I was just talking about Nexus games. The best aspect for me was working with a small crew that I quite enjoyed, and the better one was getting to highlight these like smaller players and like hype them up and build the next generation of talent. So that's definitely something I'm considering. If the option's open, then I'm completely down to start talking about it. But at the same time, I don't know exactly what I'm doing next year. Still working through those final steps. So I might not be able to. I might want to, but decide I don't have the time. Like, I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I'm 100% interested in doing that. Thanks for the question.
I'll throw this one at you, Collusion. Do you think that the double support is a consequence of the lack of self-sustain for almost all heroes in the game? For example, League has like heal ability for each hero that is available in lifesteal items.
I think it's just like consequences of like how the meta shifted and like all these months of changes. Just the fact that a bunch of assassin are part of the meta and like literally having a second support like just counter everything they can do. Like I don't know, it just happens, man. Like the meta switch every year, every patch. So at some point, who knows, man, we'll play like 4 support again or 3 or 4 warriors. Like it's hard to say what happened exactly and why is it a thing. It just happened. Like that's how I see it.
Can you confirm or deny if Lily is the new hot?
Confirmed the new hot NHL. No, I'm kidding. She's pretty bad still. You know, so It happens, man. They tried to rework her. I think it's a good rework overall. We might see her like really niche pick against, I don't know, Illidan Comp or something, but not more than that.
So shout out to Crosby.
Something that was actually hilarious to me was I'm reading down like all these like nerfed, like these support changes in the ministry's best, nerfed, Lily, buffed. Next to it, nerfed. Like that's really funny to me.
I'm just reading through the questions right now, so sorry for the dead air. If you guys see one you want to answer, jump on it.
A bunch of people are asking, is KzN collusion? Yes, it's me. I name change because a lot of people tweeted at me actually first why I hated Zion Spartan that much like years ago. He name changed too, so we're fine with that now. And you guys can Google Zion. I don't want to get into it, but apparently my name was not 100% PG-13 or something. So you guys just go look at it. And I was giving a hard time to Jake and a bunch of casters. Just decided to make their name change. There you go.
You're a good man.
I got you, man.
Plus, spelling your name with 2 I's. Who's gonna get that right? No one.
Yeah, no, the capitalization was hard for me. I was making a tweet like it happened 2 times to me. I was like, damn, need to get the spelling right. So I had to go like to the Twitter profile, like check the spelling, like copy it over, you know. Now it's just KzN. I know that. I've got that down.
So
Easy,
can I
man.
call you KzN?
Sure. I guess. No, probably not. People will probably just call me Collusion still or KzN. I don't mind. We'll see what happens with that.
Like SMX and Smexy, like.
Yeah, basically, man. We're the support crew, man. We all switch, man. APM did the same thing.
Yeah,
It's a support thing.
Yep.
I'm gonna change to BKY.
There you go.
Dunk Train will be DKT. So, Lauren says, feels like Even in Death didn't really get a chance to stay after the disband of Lag Force. Any possible solutions for that? This is like something we talked a little bit about after the first phase. It was a similar situation when it came to, B-Step disbanding, and I think just defaulting to give that to your Open Division team makes sense, right? Even in Death lost their Crucible match, right? It's not that they didn't have a chance to stay in. They already lost to an Open Division team. There's then another Open Division team that made it equally as far. There's a vacancy. They worked all season for that spot. They earned it. Should they have to play a match against each other? It's such like a weird situation to have that.
Hang on. I have a solution to all of these issues and more. Okay?
Ooh.
So, best of 7 format, in my opinion, heavily favors a HCC team because they have experience doing best of 5 week after week in the same format online. Now, Open Division teams, best of 7s are hard because most of their series are best of 3, some are best of 1. I mean, even their playoffs, I think, was best of 3 double elimination until very late, if at all. I don't know exactly. So they are not ready for a best of 7. So that's already a disparity that I dislike. And then if the goal of Crucible is to get the best 8 teams in the HCC, then I don't think it's currently achieving that goal because in the mismatches, like one team plays one team plays another. Well, if the power levels change in that time, if this team mispicked, then realistically the Open Division team can be better than the other HCC team. So to that effect, here's how I would want to see Crucible done next year. So instead of doing 2 best of 7s, you do at first, in the first round, 2 best of 5s. The winners of the best of 5s play each other. The losers play each other. Now, if you win in the winners match, you qualify. If you lose, you go to the elimination match. If you win the losers match, then you go to the elimination match.
So you want a mini bracket?
Go out. I want a GSL style group. And I think that solves the solution,
Ooh,
because we
yeah,
then have
that's
1 through 4 rankings. So we can just take the next highest ranked team. If they disbanded, we can take the number 4 team.
Yeah,
I like that actually. It's a
you're
good
smart. You're hired.
idea. Damn. Give this guy a job already. But
That-
to come back on EID real quick, even let's say Blizzard call EID or whatever, send an email and be like, yo, you guys get the spot. I know for a fact they will have said no thank you. I want to like get my chance in the free agency and try to like join a better team. So I don't think even if that was the case, like that will not have happened. So just letting you guys know.
Discord is the weirdest thing ever. Some portraits or avatars, whatever you want to call it, are animated, but only when they're at a certain specific part of the scroll. This monkey that's clapping in our Discord, I thought it was playing with my mind, but it's actually clapping, but only sometimes. Anyways, Slapjack asks, do you guys think that team houses should be mandatory in HOTS? And I'm going to take this one. The cost that is required for a team house and the amount of like resources that are needed, and the fact that not every team has a major sponsor to afford that, to make that mandatory just doesn't make sense. The unfortunate fact of the matter is there isn't a ton of money in Heroes. There aren't a ton of huge brands in Heroes. And if Blizzard was to make the jump to bring it to LCS standards, where all of the teams are forced to relocate in a centralized area and play in a live setting, I mean, the cost is so much bigger than paying 4 full-time commentators and then paying salaries for people to play from home. It's not an evolution that's really realistic based on the viewership and the audience that currently exists for the game.
Yeah, basically following up on that, I think Jake's really nailed it. The other thing is just getting a team house is not that big an investment, to be honest. It ends up working out to, let's say, 1,500 per month. That's the same as salary, basically. That's not a huge cost to a team.
No.
They can run with that. But that team house is not necessarily better than having no team house at all. It's not better than having a coach. It's not better than having a full-time manager. Possibly, because that kind of team house is very hard to manage and can create a lot of tension between players, and really ruin teams, as we saw in Old Tempo Storm. So you really do need to commit to buying like a proper house with like each person has their own individual like room, and it's this huge mansion, or even each person has their own individual apartment, and then that cost is absolutely astronomical.
And yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, there's a lot of players that don't want to live in a team house. Like you said, they want to live in an apartment in the same vicinity. They have girlfriends, they have whatever, you know, it's an impossible situation for the current state of the game, right? It's just, it's so out of the realms of what is realistic for the current state of the scene. And it's a shame. I miss more LANs. I wish maybe it was like there were a few more LANs in the season, to bring that live atmosphere out a little bit more. You know, not having a dedicated NA LAN is definitely a shame. I think the community still gets summits. I think there's like HGC summits or something probably still. So at least there's still some face-to-face, because at the end of the day, a big part of what makes esports special for, you know, people like pro gamers is that human interaction, seeing your friends, being part of that live atmosphere. It's half of why a lot of people do it. I know when I played Smash Brothers, I didn't go to tournaments to win. I knew I wasn't going to beat Mewtwo King. He was going to beat me in round 2 every single time I was against him. But it was, you know, you go to be part of those events, right? And for that part of the community. And with everything being online all the time, it's a little sad for the player side of things. I mean, I bet that's draining for you guys as players. And I miss more LANs as a caster.
Yeah, I talked about this before on my Twitter, that I really want Playoff and Crucible to be like one big event, a LAN for NA, a LAN for you, a LAN for Korea, and you do that big live event, and instead of being, I don't know, like playoff could be like a huge LAN. Instead, it's just 3 days of cast. So I don't know. I wish that was a thing. And to come back on the house thing, I would rather be like in an apartment and go play at a studio instead of all living and like be at the same place all the time. Like even online, like we get all. I mean, every team that happens. Like sometimes there's a heated conversation, you know. So if you're living in the same house and then, you know, you don't have time to cool off, or, you know, like there's problem in the team, it's gonna be awkward real quick, you know. So that's how I see it.
Definitely. And the other thing people talk about, like cost of housing, well, it doesn't have to be in LA. Like you can do the classic, go to Arizona, go to somewhere super cheap to live, just because there's no jobs there, because you guys all play from the house anyway. So there's definitely ways to lower that cost, but just like Collusion said, that's not necessarily a worthwhile investment because of the issues it presents. And the investment to everyone to get in the individual apartment and hire this studio to play in is just too far for either Orcs or Blizzard. At the moment, it's just not feasible. What was the other thing you were talking about, Jake?
Yeah, lands, right?
Lands. Wait, yeah, lands. That's it. So continuing with Bakery has suggestions for the HCC segment that we used on Crucible earlier. I think playoffs can be two separate things. So here's how I would do it in my ideal world: is I would have playoffs, which is 6-team bracket, top 2 skip the first round, and you play that out across days. The winner of that qualifies. The person who had the most league points qualifies. So effectively number 1 in standings, most likely. Mm-hmm. If they don't win playoffs, they qualify. If they do win playoffs, then possibly a second place team qualifies. You know, like there's different ways to work it out. And then the third spot would be that other online event like we have now, that step ladder, last chance, like fight your way through, winner goes to BlizzCon. I think that would be a much better system for determining the top 3 teams to go. As opposed to just the top 2 go, because then playoffs isn't a cool event. Like,
right.
Playoffs doesn't have the best teams. Playoffs had lower viewership than Week 5 because Fnatic and Dignitas were the 2 big names in Europe.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's who people wanted to watch. They just didn't show up for playoffs, so no one watched it.
And like trying to like fix that, I think HCC's done a few good things this year, like bringing Fourth Guy on and stuff like that to bring some of those personalities that people do know from the top teams into the broadcast and giving it some more extra flair and flavor. I think that's a really good way of doing it. Obviously, there's always a cost in that. It's to bring in Bakery, for example, after he already qualified from the UK to the studio, like on the fly, that's a lot harder to do because since HECE was done in the NA studios, that does complicate things a little bit for sure. But there's always like ways to do that well, I think. We are just about out of time for viewer questions. I don't think, is there any final ones you guys wanted to touch up on?
There's someone asking how is it corresponding with Blizzard. It's basically just email, super easy.
Yeah, so
Snapchat.
All players have an email where they can reach Blizzards. Goes directly to people on the esports team who can forward it to development team, community team, events team, wherever it needs to go. And obviously, that people know each other personally as well, so you have their email. The communication system in terms of players contacting Blizzard is quite robust and very easy to use. Oh, yeah. So, Collusion, do you think there will be a third ban for HCC 2018?
Ooh.
Do you want a third ban? That's the last question.
Maybe. I guess that's something we're gonna talk at the summit soon.
Spoilers.
But do I want one? I'm not sure, to be honest. It's gonna be an interesting dynamic Where do you see the ban, by the way, in the draft? Like the extra one.
After
My
fifth
personal
pick.
preference is at the start.
Two at the
but-
gates.
Yeah, 2 out the gates. I think we have enough tanks and supports to get past it.
Yeah.
Maybe we don't, but like at the same time, if they ban 2 supports, like it's pretty obvious you need to pick one in your first 2. If you don't, it's kind of your fault. Like, and they committed 2 bans to that, so that was an investment on your sides. Should be even trade. Same thing with tanks, in my opinion. So even then, I think it could definitely be in the mid ban. That I wouldn't favor that as much. Like, I just think we need another ban to diversify picks, because the first phase of our draft is super stagnant and super boring, and the last phase is interesting. People complain all the time, oh, we see the same picks in HCC all the time. Well, we don't. We see a huge variety. But the first half of the draft is the same 70% of the time. That needs to change. I think that needs to be a ban.
And was that in the Caldor video? Jay Shaw was saying Travis, who works, his title is like lead live designer or just maybe lead game designer?
Lead game designer.
Lead game designer. I don't know if it was in the Caldor video because I didn't actually catch the whole thing. Said it would be mid-ban for another ban. That's good to hear that they're at least talking about it. I don't know if it's confirmed or not here. Naturally, we should look forward to not only dates and everything for HGC before too long, but also I would imagine we'll get some more information regarding what the official map pool is. Are we going to see Warhead Junction removed for Volskaya, what the swap is or whatever? Are we going to see an additional ban of the season? And when that information is finite and out, we will definitely cover that here on the show. Collision, yo man, it was a pleasure finally having you join us, dude.
Thanks. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I liked it.
I'm glad, man. I liked having you. So, shout outs, dude, to your team, to your family, to your pets, whatever.
Shout out to Freedom, Esports US, HyperX. Shout out to you guys. It was a lot of fun. Shout out to Twitch chat. And shout out to the Funky Squad.
Who shouts out Twitch chat?
I do. Hello?
Oh, what a guy. What a guy. And yeah, awesome, dude. Shout outs to you. Bakery.
So, first shout out to the crew at Nexus Games for having me, Tetsu and Kendrick for casting alongside me, of course Blizzard and ESL for working with me and producing the entire event. Super cool, and I had a great time casting. Hope we can cast more in the future. Shout outs to Collusion. Thanks for coming on the show, man. It's super cool talking with you, and another support main, so good. Not really very many shout outs. Look out for just follow me, and then hopefully I'll have news about what I'm doing next soon.
And you bought that new stream deck, so I expect to see Dank Bakery stream soon. Cool. Well, shout out to Dunk Train for being sick, but still writing us some of his thoughts on the support situation, because it was really good to still get a tidbit from his brain on the current state of the support changes, since it is new, fresh information. I guess he's got an awful cough, and I hope you're feeling better, buddy. I hope you feel better soon. And again, we plugged the Patreon. This is one of, we're really looking to evolve TownHall. I'm working on crafting some amazing segments for next year, and I'm going to be working with Bakery and Dunk to just kind of create some more bite-sized content that will come out of the show, and that's going to include covering HGC and everything. So to everyone that has already been supporting our Patreon, we never really plugged it much, but to all the people that still continued supporting it, it just kind of existed. There's no real perks to it right now yet, and we're working on fixing that. It supports the show. We're going to give you cool things. There's going to be there's like a new Discord we're gonna have come out. Maybe we'll do viewer games in the future or something. I can't make Dunk and Bakery commit to that on air right now, but who knows, right? There's definitely some cool stuff we'll figure out to work with the community. But thank you guys so much for just supporting us here on Twitch, supporting the Patreon, and for tuning into the show, because really that's what matters most. If you can't afford to support it monetarily, it doesn't matter. You're watching, and we appreciate that. So thank you, Twitch chat. Shout out to you. Shout out to you, YouTube. Shout out to you, MP3 listeners. and everyone that has watched our show for over 3 years. We are still working on finalizing the date for our D&D thing. We're still working on finalizing the date for Town Holiday, but they will be in the next 2 to 3 weeks, and they will be ridiculous. The D&D thing may take over Town Hall for a week. I don't know. We're trying to figure out scheduling for that because it's tough with Bakery being in the UK and then having people on the West Coast. The schedule difference is pretty severe there, 9 hours, I think. So yeah, lots of fun stuff coming up. Good to hear that you're single, Knucklesy Hots. That's great intel in the Twitch chat. And have a wonderful evening. Again, shout outs to you, Collusion, for joining us.
A pleasure, man.
I'm forgetting someone. I'm trying to stall. There's got to be someone else. Shout outs to Cats. Welcome here to Town Hall.
Happy birthday,